On a river recently, I was reminiscing about the simple things in fly fishing that make it pleasurable to me. Yeah, we can all say that there is pleasure in catching a trout. There's no doubt about that. The perception from a non-angler is that fly fishers practice catch and release. What's the point in catching a fish if you're just going to let it go? These fly fishing people, they're walking around in rivers in waders, waving the stick back and forth. They use furred feathers to catch their trout. There is a beauty in fly fishing where nature gives you a 360-degree participation in her beauty. This in itself tends to lure people to take up the fly rod and begin their journey. Taken for what it is, fly fishing is really a simple thing. We simply try and trick a trout into eating a piece of steel covered with fur, feathers, that the trout think is food. In general, 98% of what a trout eat during a fly fishing season are aquatic bugs. And that's the simplicity of fly fishing. We're just imitating these aquatic bugs with fur, feathers, and steel. So yes, there is beauty, adventure, and nature in fly fishing. And that's the lure. That's what hooks us in the first place into going down that road. And it also is what keeps us in fly fishing. It's what makes us go back out to the river. I imagine there are anglers who don't see it that way, but I've never met one. Over the years or decades, I've talked to hundreds of anglers and asked them what it is they love about fly fishing. And I've broken it down basically into these things that's universally talked about amongst fly fishermen who love to fly fish. One is they love to catch trout. With that comes a peace of mind. It's a place to go to find peace. It's a place to go to find solace. It's a place to go to find stress release, to escape reality of our daily lives, to be outdoors, and to be surrounded by nature. These are the things that draw fly fishermen to the rivers. And what keeps us coming back is we want to get better at what we're doing there. We have a skill we're trying to improve on. The ultimate reward is to have a trout in your net, to look at that beautiful thing that you're after. There will be 3 things that fly fishing will give you. 3 things that lure you back every time. It's an excuse to go somewhere. If you've never been there, then there's really no excuse to go there. You've never been to this river. You've never been to that river. Why? Well, fly fishing gives you an excuse to go there. And once you're there, that's where the adventure begins. That's when the bushwhacking begins. That's when the joy of having your rod bent with a wild trout, the smile on your face, the laughter. It gives you a skill that you can use when you're there. You traveled a long place, you're there, you're gonna play golf. When you're done playing golf, what are you gonna do? Well, you can fly fish. Traveling down the road, you see a beautiful river. It's a skill you can use while on that river. And the last thing it does is it gives you a passion that evolves and takes over for you. And what we all get is a taste of all three of these things. In some capacity, passion is greater than the excuse to go somewhere, or the excuse to go somewhere is very, very small, but the skill becomes the most important thing. But those are the three things that fly fishing will give you. Catching trout is just a means to an end. For many fly fishers, catching trout becomes their mantra. They slowly lose the great things that drew them to fly fishing to begin with. The farther they go down the rabbit hole, the more they lose control of the things that bring them pleasure. The reality is, fly fishing is a simple thing. It's impossible to catch a trout. You just can't do it. I can't do it. You can't grab them from a rock. You can't use a bow and arrow. You can't use a spear. You can't use a grenade or a dynamite tossed in the river. You can't put scuba gear on and grab one. You can't use a net. There's laws against that stuff. The only way to catch a trout is to trick it into eating something. And that something is an aquatic insect. That's the simplicity of it. That's what makes us want to learn more and get better at it. With proper instruction, you begin to understand more to where you become successful over and over again. Where we go wrong is we become more interested in catching the trout than we do in why we love to fly fish or what it was that made us want to fly fish. The lack of the reward or the lack of fish caught breeds frustration, and many, it causes anger. These anglers lose faith, and they lose faith in the sport of fly fishing. They lose the experience, the beauty, the adventure, and the nature. This frustration leads to failure, and it wants them to just throw their fly rods away. And that gear just begins to collect dust. Here the adventure ends. Here that 360-degree participation in nature is gone. And the failure is not the loss of fish, but the loss of the fly fishing experience. However, if we choose not to go down the rabbit hole and instead understand that there is no magic wand in fly fishing, there's not a yellow brick road that takes us down the road to fly fishing. Instead, while you're on the river, if we choose to improve the skills that you're learning, become aware of your surroundings. Enjoy being on the river. Press the stress release button. Find the peace and nature that you search for. Enjoy watching other fly fishermen just like you. Enjoy the act of being in the river. Become part of the adventure. If you do these things, you will catch trout. That's the simplicity of fly fishing. This is what keeps us from going down the rabbit hole. This is what keeps us wanting to get better in fly fishing. This is what hones our skills. This is what will make you successful. And this is what will make you a fly fisherman.